The regular season concludes here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. 12 drivers still eligible to make it in, but it's a round of 10 that opens up the championship campaign. 2 drivers will be eliminated tonight. Welcome back to Saturday Night Thunder live on FTN. It's the Pocono Raceway for 60 laps of feature racing, and it's great to be back here at the 2.5 mile circuit in the Northeast. We've been here many a time before. Last time we were here, Alec Daffin took the checkered flag in 2023, and now, although it's no longer the trucks, the Xfinity cars is the modern package, Daffin, Kuntz, the veterans and the rookies alike coming together once again to battle at this iconic circuit. I'll be your host for tonight's race, David Troitz. I'm commentating and producing, and currently qualifying is on the move with 3 minutes left for drivers to set a time. No drivers put a time on the board to this point. Currently, 17 drivers are registered, with more still entering as we speak. Taking a look down at the circuit, Jordan Kuntz is one of the drivers who is on pit road, has decided not to go out yet for a time. We'll see who else is on the track. David Tooker on pit road, Ben Bushnell now just getting on the way, and currently leading the timing sheet still. It is a dead heat until Kenneth Gorell puts it up to the top of the board, only to be usurped by Jim Thurston. Thurston now on the provisional pole with his first lap, a 54.87. So let's see what happens here from this point onward. Quickest lap mile an hour total for Jim Thurston is one and done. It's a 164 mile an hour lap. Then you have a 163.495 just behind him. That will be Henry Kaloff. Times are going to be at the top of the timing sheet. And as you can see now, a total of 4 drivers have taken a lap, spread by a half second. Gino Marrow on the way. Marrow, a driver who is looking for that elusive opportunity to at last collect a race win. Podiums have been rather tricky for Gino as well. Still looking for that first career top 3. A lot on the line tonight. Gino Marrow, as it stands, is 9th in the championship pylon, so he's looking to make it in tonight so long as he stays ahead of Jackson Van Pelt. Jackson is the masked man on the bubble, and right now for Van Pelt, he'll be going toe-to-toe against Dana Van Meter and Benjamin Bushnell. Gino is to the positive of the bubble, so tonight he is going to be in a much better position. Let's see what he can do with his first lap this time through. First and only, as a matter of fact, for the 71, and if Gino Marrow comes across the start-finish, that lap time will be good, it looks like, for nothing, because that was his warm-up lap. Now Trey Holmes is on the way. Number 88 gets up to 3rd. Matthew Weeks puts it P2. All of a sudden, well, your defending champion is looking to get back up in the mix. As it stands, Matthew Weeks does not find himself as the championship leader. Although he won the title last season, he's only right now in 5th. Got a win last week. His first of the campaign. Vinny Tigner is currently going to be at the top of the championship pylon, simply based on his consistency in attendance. So Vinny could be the regular season champion, and it looks like right now he has a 27-point buffer to the next driver. So Vinny in good standing to go all the way and collect that regular season championship, as Gino Marrow is now going to make it across the line, and it's a 55.159. That lap time is good for 6th place as it stands. Gino going just outside the top 5, and now Jordan Kuntz and David Tooker will be the last drivers on the way. It was last week's top 3, Matthew Weeks, David Tooker, and Ethan Burrell, 2 of which first-time podium sitters on the campaign. Of course, Matthew Weeks, the veteran of years past, all 3 of which with wonderful runs. They were able to best the number 99 of Jordan Kuntz, who just put up the 2nd best time. That's going to put him up in the front row in the final seconds of qualifying, but Jim Thurston will collect the pole position. So far, Thurston's going to find himself at the top of the charts, 29 thousandths of a second, the gap between he and Jordan Kuntz in timing. 5 minutes of extra warm-up here. Thurston is not championship eligible, so once again, he'll be playing the role of the spoiler tonight. He's a driver who just hasn't made too many starts, so with that being said, his ineligibility is not because of performance. It more so comes down to the fact he just has not been here enough to make it. So, Ben Bushnell going to be on pit road. Gino Marrow now getting on the way. Drivers getting into final practice for tonight's race, and it's a major race at that. A regular season championship will be determined, and it looks like it will go Vinny Tigner's way if he can just hang on. One win and a regular season title, some big momentum for Tigner. Still don't believe he is the championship favorite, and I think our two title favorites are going to line up inside the top four. First and foremost, let's get to know the driver just ahead of them, and that will be your first place starter with the pole position. That is Jim Thurston, P1 with a 54.871 for Jim Thurston. He's got himself inside of row number one. Alongside him will be Jordan Coots in second. Matthew Weeks is P3, with Trey Holmes then in fourth. Gap between first and fourth, you can see just about 0.3 of a second. The fall off is noticeable though from Weeks to Trey Holmes. The only three drivers in the sub 55 category, first, second, and third. Fourth place is going to be Trey Holmes, and fifth place is going to be the brand new driver in Mason Sweet, making his first career SNT start, and Henry Kaloff will be sixth with a 55.138. Gino Marrow going to be seventh, and then Vinny Tigner, your regular season points leader, in 8th, with Kenneth Garrell in 9th, and second place finisher last week, David Tooker, starting in 10th. Look further back and you're going to find the 11th place driver. That will be Jackson Van Pelt. He finds himself 10th and last in the regular season standings to advance. Then you got Ben Bushnell, who will start P12, and Curtis Sabarin, the 13th and final driver to set a time. It will be the number 21, starting in 13th as a result, with a lap time of 55.636. Third place last week is going to be the first driver without a time tonight. That is Ethan Burrell, who will be 14th. And then you've got Matthew White in the 17th position. Well, it looks like right behind him, rather, he'll be right beside, is Dana Van Meter. Row 9 is going to be actually 17th and 18th. White and Meter will be then 15th and 16th. TJ Lair, the rookie from last week, is going to come through, and he will be starting in 17th. Last driver on the starting grid overall, the number 73 of Aaron Sire, will round out the starting grid. 18 drivers here from Long Pond. That's your starting grid in Pocono. All of which with the exception of the one driver in the top 10, and that is, of course, Mason Sweet, had made starts before, so rookies on the season, many yes, however, one first-time driver to accompany the field here tonight. 1 minute and 56 seconds here left in final practice, and currently to the top of the board again is Jim Thurston. Thurston, he has been rather quick. Wasn't the fastest man in first practice, but it looks like he has turned up the pace ever since then. He's now up to the top of the charts once more, and currently finds himself there by nearly 2 full tenths. Thurston definitely having some good pace tonight as he's going to go slamming into the 37 of Burrell. Take a ride on board right now with Trey Holmes and see what he's doing as he comes out of 2. Trey Holmes is going to opt to go into pit road here. Keep in mind, this is not your traditional 2.5-mile circuit. We go to Daytona many a time to start the series. We go to Talladega, slightly longer, coming in at 2.66 miles. But tonight, this is not necessarily a super speedway style race. It is a massive circuit, yes, and it's very high in terms of speed, but it isn't going to be all about punching through with the gas pedal. There is a little bit more that comes to it sometimes. As much as they call Watkins Glen the super speedway of road courses, this sometimes is referred to as the road course of super speedways. Sometimes you see drivers shifting gears, a lot more finesse, because each and every corner is significantly different. Coming across the line, 20 seconds remaining here, banging up against the wall. That's going to be Ben Bushnell. 6th on the timing sheet so far for Ben. It looks like nobody going to have a chance to knock off the 96, who is once again up on top. Up at the front of the field, Jackson Van Pelt is going to be, well, he finds himself in P5. Trey Holmes is going to be in 4th, and David Tooker is in 3rd. But you can't stop the 96 of Thurston, once again quickest as the red flag flies. Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport. Well, once again, they are going to be on top. 60 laps of racing here tonight. Drivers now going to be assembling on the starting grid, and everyone going to be following the man up on top. Jim Thurston, Jordan Kuntz going to be there in second, and Matthew Weeks will be in third. Now it's time to get things going as drivers assemble down on pit road once again. Last time we were here, your defending race winner at this track is Alec Daffin. However, you might notice that Alec Daffin is not on track, which might have some championship implications. He is coming in not in the top 5 in seeds, so he might be passed up by multiple drivers here. Whether or not he has a provisional to make it inside the top 10 will be determined, but it looks like for now, Alec Daffin almost forfeiting his championship chances. It's a risky call not to be here tonight, and hopefully for Daffin's sake, he has a little bit more in the bank when it comes to points relative to his competitors. Alec Daffin, of course, strong this season, getting a much better start than last. His biggest issue at times is lack of attendance, but right now he finds himself about 24 points above the bubble. I think he should be good to go unless something catastrophic would happen to the drivers who are already up there. An amazing race, like a victory for Dana Van Meter, Ben Bushnell, or even Jackson Van Pelt. Jim Thurston still looking for win number 1. He's made multiple starts this season, but unlike the previous, Jim was not able to get that immediate first win. He got his first S&T win in his very first start of 2024. Since that point, Thurston has still been chasing victory lane once again. Not as fruitful with the successes here as his teammate in River Page has been, so maybe tonight will be at last the time he breaks through and collects the checkered flag. Implications for the championship are strong enough where maybe you'll see a little bit of a different approach. It's not the longest of races, 60 laps here, coming in just under 200 miles, and last time we went to a 2.5 mile plus circuit, we went for nearly 220 laps extended under caution. So a different approach for this race is necessary. A lot of drivers like Jim Thurston, Jordan Kuntz, and company alike might be used to even longer races here in Pocono, where 70, 80, or even 100 laps are the norm. Not going to be the case tonight. It's going to be a short sprint by all means. And now drivers pull off a pit road. Jim Thurston, Jordan Kuntz, your top two as you look from the eye in the sky here. 2.5 mile circuit in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, opened in 1960 and has seen consistent stock car racing use ever since. Until about 2019, you saw open wheel racing with the Indycar series coming, but this is one of those circuits that as time has progressed, it's been reevaluated as one of the more dangerous oval circuits all throughout the country. Same distance, technically speaking, as Indianapolis. However, you'll notice those corners are not the traditional 90 degrees, each and every one of which are modeled after famous oval circuits throughout the United States. We'll get into a little bit more of that as the race progresses. The track conditions here in Pennsylvania going to be mild ambient temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit and a track temperature of 112 degrees. So track temperature is expected to stay about the same the entire night. And winds are going to be right now northbound at a mile an hour, relative humidity coming in at 45%, so conditions will not be fluctuating tonight. They will be consistent from start to finish. Drivers now have to understand that with everything staying the same, now it's just about adapting to what you've got. Maybe a little bit different from practice and qualifying, especially with now the entire pack together again, and they're getting ready to go racing for some 60 laps. We've seen great green flag strategy here before, and I would expect, as we've seen in S&T, that will remain commonplace again. iRacing Pace Car is going to give Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport a chance to go for another victory. Denied one in the IORA Cup Series this week, it's time for redemption on the big stage. Regular season finale here in S&T competition. Green flag is underway. Welcome back to action in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. And in only a lap, Jordan Kuntz and Jim Thurston are broken away, and they're battling against one another. Pole sitter not able to lead that lap, and it was a rather close fight, but it looks like the advantage going into turn one will still be that of Thurston's. Jordan Kuntz with a nice jump on the outside group to keep him honest. But so far, it looks like qualifying will reign supreme. Mason Sweet going to get up to fourth here, just ahead of Henry Kaloff, and great start for the rookie. We'll see what else he can do with that tonight, of course. Very first chance for the number 11 team to face off against the 56. Very first chance for everyone to go against Mason Sweet and that 56 crew, where the battle for the lead kicking off with a little bit more intensity than the usual, shall we say. It almost does look like a repeat of what we saw last time we were in Pocono. Side by side till the bitter end for Alec Daffin and Jordan Kuntz alike. Alec Daffin was actually the race winner who got it done. One of the few times that we remember a head-to-head battle between those two in which Alec Daffin outright collected the victory. And he had a head full of steam coming into the playoffs based on that race win, although Jordan Kuntz able to steal that thunder and eventually come away with his second career title. Now it looks like Kuntz is going to get washed a little bit higher, and now you'll see Jim Thurston working down low. Still no clear advantage from either of which 15 drivers taking the start-finish line. Matthew White, Dana Van Meter, Aaron Sire are all of which deciding not to race in tonight's event. And with that being said, exclusion from this event for Dana Van Meter would mean that Dana is ineligible for the championship. It's going to come down to Ben Bushnell against Jackson Van Pelt, and it looks like right now the advantage is going to be in the favor of that number 71. Gino is currently going to be running in 8th, and it looks like for the time being that's all that's necessary to keep 12th place Ben Bushnell at bay. So one driver going to go home by force tonight. It looks like Dana Van Meter bowing out early, and unfortunately that is going to be a voluntary bow out. That's going to leave the number 99 here of Jordan Kuntz with the race lead again. He's got Jim Thurston behind him, and it looks like the 99 able to pull through. Even though not having the pole position, Kuntz having the race pace and getting up on the high side and putting that pressure down. Side by side, a little bit further back, he is a little bit closer as well. Ethan Burrell is coming up now with Trey Holmes. Trey lies on the higher side, and Ethan Burrell decides to descend a little bit lower. As he does so, he takes the pass, and that's going to be the move now for 8th place. Vinny Tigner going to be dropped back. He's going to be in 10th as it stands. Vinny, not the best of starts for him. He started in P8 and already getting hustled for the 11th spot. He might fall back into, of course, if he lets Kenneth Gurrell go by. Regular season champion if he just hangs on tonight. And it looks like for Vinny Tigner's sake, well, he has no worry about making it into the next round, but it'll be a major accolade for him to come away with that regular season title. An accolade that has been stolen season after season, justifiably so, by the likes of Jordan Kuntz and Matthew Weeks. Alec Daffin all contending for it. Now Vinny Tigner, he's coming to his stride. He got one win last season, and that came in Auto Club. Got one win this season so far, that of which came in Talladega, and he's been remarkably consistent to this point. So for Vinny Tigner, there's a lot of reason to believe maybe he's on the up and up when it comes to title battles. He has the most top 10s of anyone in the series, and he has 5 top 5s, which is equal to the number that Jordan Kuntz currently possesses. So right now, with the exception of race wins, Vinny Tigner is the leading driver statistically in this series. Most top 10s and the most top 5s and the most races. He's gone for 100% top 10 rates so far, something that no other driver can say in this entire campaign. Henry Kaloff has gotten close, but he only has right now 6 of 7 top 10s under his belt in 7 starts. So the master of consistency is going to lie at the head of the field here, and that's, of course, going to be Vinny Tigner. Although from the head of the field, he's falling more so to the tail. The real tail end of the field is going to have Jackson Van Pelt and then Ben Bushnell. Right now, it looks like Van Pelt is actually behind the number 55, although he cannot fall any lower. So with a few separating positions between the 55 and that 07 alike, the advantage is still going to be major here for Jackson Van Pelt in points. It would need a disastrous day to fall all the way out of contention, and Dana Van Meter has officially disconnected, and that's going to hang up the 27 team's chances for the title. 85 at TJ Lair coming up as well. Second race of his career, TJ Lair making his debut last week in Richmond. Good to have him return once again, and so far given a solid effort as he drives down to the bottom groove, coming from 16th and last on the order. Now it's going to be up next for the 85. Maybe he'll have a chance to get now into 12th or 11th. Ben Bush now starting to face some pressure here. The number 21 of Curtis Sabarin. New paint scheme tonight. Looks like Austin Hill's number 21 for Richard Childress Racing. All of a sudden now for Curtis Sabarin, he's trying to get just within the confines of the top dozen. Hasn't gotten there quite yet. He currently resides in 13th, but maybe if he gets around Ben Bush now here, more will come to follow. We'll see whether or not that battle brings anything into fruition as Ethan Burrell now puts some more pressure down on the rookie, Mason Sweet. First-time driver, Mason is in the number 56 tonight. Let's see how he hangs on. He qualified in 5th, got up to as high as 4th, and right now finds himself in 7th place once again. Not a bad start for Mason, however, he's still got a ways to go if he wants to be a true contender in this race. Still a lot to learn. You can't imagine that's going to be all too easy. We'll see what now the number 56 can do with Ethan Burrell now coming right behind him. Taking a look off the back end of the 56, you will see Mason is right there. Ethan Burrell looking a little bit lower now through turn 3. Can't quite get there. Turn 3, minimal banking coming in and out of the corner. And so with that being said, there's a very little opportunity besides diving into the corner to make a pass. And well, let's talk about what those turns are inspired by, because as we go through turn 1 right now, this is the only track that does not currently exist that inspired the Pocono Raceway. Trenton Raceway, a circuit that exists, of course, in the virtual realm exclusively nowadays. Trenton hosted modified action, local short track racing machines, and, well, while it never got its dues in the modern NASCAR world, Trenton is one of the breeding grounds for some of NASCAR's top talents. You might know of NASCAR Hall of Famer Richie Evans or Jeff Bodine or someone like Tommy Baldwin as a team owner. They all rose through the ranks and raced at Trenton International, that circuit having the highest banking that is composing Pocono Raceway today. It's not akin necessarily to Daytona or Talladega, but when it comes down to the highest banking on this circuit, Trenton is where it all comes down to. They're going to come through turns 1 and 2 again, and you'll notice that while I'm not flat on the pedal, it's a generous turn. You can dive deep into it, give it a lot of momentum coming in, plow through, and then put yourself back together rather quickly in only about a second and a half. You have to get off the throttle, then lay off, and put the power back down once more. And as we do that, now it's time to go on to the most iconic circuit that makes up the modern Pocono Raceway today. And that is going to be the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Turn 2, the Tunnel Turn. This track doesn't look all too much, of course, like Indianapolis, but if you look at Turn 2 exclusively, it's almost like one of the 90-degree turns in the Brickyard. Now, the Tunnel Turn is special and specific for its construction because you can drive a commercial vehicle under the track and get into the circuit. So going into the infield is pretty simple from the outside of Pocono Raceway. It's a very small tunnel, all things considered, and you can go right under the drivers as they are racing. Turn 2, that's one of the unique quirks of Pocono Raceway, of course, besides the fact that it is only going to be a 3-turn track. Some argue that it has 5 turns. I would argue that's a lie. The track specifically says through turn 3 that's not the case. Now let's get to turn 3. We're getting there once again. Henry Kaloff right now getting passed by David Tooker. This is the battle currently for P5, and Gino Marrow has gotten up in it again. Gino fell as far back as the 8th position, but it looks like he's gotten back into his stride. He'll make the pass now on the number 63 of Kaloff and the 19 of Tooker alike. Double trouble. That's going to move Gino Marrow up into P4. Great pass as we now come into Milwaukee, the shortest turn of all. It's going to be minimal banking, minimal radius, and as such, this track, of course, getting that extra trick, minimal opportunity for passing as well. You might see on the outside of the wall, it says what turn 4, all the way to the top of your screen right there as the last drivers make their way through. That's the thing about Milwaukee when it comes down to its comparisons and all those that made up Pocono, it is the minimum. Pocono Raceway, 2.5-mile circuit. Trenton, greater than a mile. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 2.5-mile circuit. Milwaukee Mile is exactly 1 mile. That is it. It's a very flat circuit. It doesn't have the ability for you to carry that momentum all the way, and so it's completely different from all those other turns here in Pocono Raceway, and that's where the challenge really comes in from. If this track was more like 3 of those Trenton turns or 3 of those Indianapolis turns, maybe it'll be a little bit simpler for drivers. That's simply put not the way these drivers go about it. They are given that extra challenge of having to be versatile, having to deal with those high-speed, high-banking corners, and coming all the way down to those very plain, minimal banking, straight-on left turns, which take a different skill set and, of course, take a different approach inside the car. You cannot, of course, expect the exact same things to work out, even if it is a different landscape. Now to the inside, you'll see Ethan Burrell and Henry Caloff. This will be the move for 6th if it sticks. Looks like for Burrell, that it will. Henry Caloff now going to fall back. He finds himself 2nd in the championship standings coming into tonight. Currently for Caloff, the only driver that he finds himself behind, of course, is Alec Daffin, or rather, Vinny Tigner. He was behind Daffin, but a recent resurgence has gotten him up into P2. Jordan Kuntz is up to 3rd in the championship standings, and right now it's actually a tie for 2nd. So if Jordan Kuntz contacts Trey Holmes, does Trey save it? Yes! What a save from Trey Holmes at number 88. Putting it all together and keeping calm is going to avoid our first caution, and the 88 of Trey Holmes is going to keep us in business. Yellow flag is avoided. Take a look back to Trey Holmes and a wonderful save here on lap number 13. Dealing with the rookie of Mason Sweet. Mason goes down to the inside. Trey to block. He's late, and he just gets on the brakes and puts it back together. Great job there for Trey Holmes, and that's the difference again between a massive incident and a very calm minor occurrence. Take a look inside the cockpit. All brake work, wasn't even using the hands there, so he stayed perfectly calm, just let the car get back together. He's currently going to be 10th as it stands. Unfortunately for Trey, he was going to lose position, but I'm certain it's better than ending up on a wrecker and getting anyone else involved. Mason Sweet falls back to 8th, now behind Henry Caloff, Gino Matterlin company. We'll see whether or not Mason Sweet can maybe get himself back in the battle, but not the best, shall we say, first impression, although it looks like it was a racing incident with both drivers getting alongside and into each other rather than anything all too malicious. Gino Marrow going to be getting away here. He is now in 6th. Ethan Burrell P5, David Tooker in 4th, and Matthew Weeks is in 3rd. So last week's podium now going to be running together again. Instead, they still have 2 more positions they'll have to make up. Jim Thurston and Jordan Kuntz are getting a little bit tighter, and with them, it's also bringing up Matthew Weeks. Thurston has shown no signs of fault so far. However, it looks like all of a sudden the pressure is back on the 96 team. Let's see now what Jordan Kuntz can do as he looks a little bit lower through Milwaukee, gets onto that curbing, still going to be all the way to the inside. Nothing too crazy just yet, but now we're going to see the change, working all the way down and using the inside of the Long Pond straightaway. Jim Thurston tries to cut the draft. Thurston still having Jordan Kuntz right there with him, and it stays together 16 laps in out of 60. Jordan Kuntz, Matthew Weeks now the tightest they've been as well. Matthew over the last 4 laps, let's talk about how much he has gained relative to Thurston. He's been able to put together a half second and get closer to both Jordan Kuntz and Jim Thurston alike. A very impressive charge to slowly but surely get that momentum built up to find himself at this point. It looked like early on he wasn't really going to be charging too quickly through the field. Didn't expect to see Matthew in this race leading battle at all, but now he has separated himself from the entirety of the remaining pack, and he's been able to cut down the distance unlike anyone else on the circuit. For reference, for Jordan Kuntz, it looks like Kuntz has been able to stay within about a half second for the entirety of the event, but he's also put up 4/10, and it looks like now Thurston with a little bit of trouble because he's seeing Jordan Kuntz go low, and it looks like once again the number 99 will look to take the race lead. Here comes Kuntz. down to the bottom. Not clear. He's going to have to slot in line. That's going to give a chance now to Matthew Weeks, and it's going to be perfect now for the back end mirror of the number 96. Jim Thurston looking at the distraction, but looks like Kuntz takes himself out of the equation by choice. And going to help out immensely in keeping Matthew Weeks up there with Jim Thurston. Let's see now what the number 96 machine can do as he tries to hold off the number 11 of Matthew Weeks. And it looks like there's little else that Thurston can do. He's now diving to the inside, and Matthew Weeks has the momentum, and it looks like he will prevail. The number 11 going to take the race lead for the first time tonight into Trenton. Well, let's see what Thurston can do here. Still having the high size, so he should have just a little bit more to make things happen. Coming out of the first corner, well, it looks like still Matthew Weeks is side by side. Can't make his way around just yet. Jordan Kuntz, of course, right there, and now he's got the best seat in the house watching the battle. Jordan Kuntz decides to play spectator, and he'll learn now who's got the best groove, who's got the best tire, and who's got the best stuff. Kuntz throwing a significant run, and will he decide to go 3? Yes, he will. We go 3 wide for the lead here into turn 3, and Jordan Kuntz going to remain on the bottom. Thurston up top. One's got to give. Looks like if Thurston gets his way, 2 will. Still going to be 3 wide coming out of the final corner, and down the long pond straight, Jim Thurston with the advantage swoops down to the bottom, and now Jordan Kuntz will have to back off again into third from 3 wide to single file once more. So now the 96 of Jim Thurston back up to the race lead. Got Matthew Weeks still there right behind, and if Matthew can get the room and the rhythm, well, he should be able to make the pass. But that's what happens when you stall each other out far too much, staying side by side, giving another driver another opportunity to make it around you. And unfortunately for Matthew Weeks, well, he did just that, but he's not going to make the same mistake again. Look at that, a quick jump out of the race lead. Jim Thurston, he doesn't even have a chance to react, and so he finds himself lopsided on the back end. 99 of Jordan Kuntz is now going to find himself in a single file fight. Not going to be as easy to get up here with Thurston, but Jim Thurston falling back to P2, and a new driver up in front for the first time today. Matthew Weeks will lead a lap. Jim Thurston going to remain in the middle of the fight here. Take a look further back, and you got Vinny Tigner going at it with Henry Kaloff and Mason Sweet alike. Sweet, the rookie, the points leader, and Vinny Tigner also right there. He's back up into 7th. So he fell out of the top 10 briefly. However, it looks like that stint, well, it's behind him. And all of a sudden, it looks like Vinny Tigner is back making gains. Strategy going to be coming into the picture very, very soon. And before we get into the discussion of what the right moves are, we're going to look on board now with the number 63 of Henry Kaloff, and now let's evaluate some driver telemetry. Getting nearly up to a speed of 190 miles an hour. It goes to show the capability of these NASCAR Xfinity Series cars. 21 laps in at a 60 though. These drivers have done it many a time. Last lap for Henry Kaloff came in as a 57.816. Compared to his best, he's about 2 seconds off. So some significant deficits right now for Henry Kaloff as he fades back. Mason Sweet now gets back on the way, and Mason trying to put himself together after that recent incident he had with Trey Holmes. As it stands, it looks like minor advantage for Mason Sweet, although it's going to be more of a crossover maneuver if anything, because Vinny Tigner now decides to go back to the bottom once again. Once more, the number 12 of Vinny Tigner staying toe-to-toe. Trey Holmes is going to get back up in here as well, so it looks like Holmes and Mason Sweet alike, well, they both found each other. Took a little bit of time. It looks like instead of falling backwards for Mason Sweet or Trey Holmes alike, they met each other in the middle. No damage that's significant for either of which. I think the only thing has to be that tire, and it's a wonder that Trey Holmes has been able to actually make up position, given the fact that he's had that tire scuffing. That's something that's very challenging to recover from because you can't really reverse tire wear lest you go down to pit road and get a new set of rubber, which is anticipated for the majority of the field within the next 5 or 6 laps at the minimum, although we're expecting lap number 30 to be that money lap in which drivers decide to go down and in all at once en masse. Very close battle further on back. Ben Bushnell here with TJ Lair, although it looks like now these drivers have separated themselves just a little bit further. TJ, the number 85, is running at 13th right now, and then you got Ben Bushnell in P13 just after. TJ able to cycle up into 12th. Reason being, it looks like Jackson Van Pelt getting back on the way, 15th and last as it stands, and Jackson, not the best of nights for that 0-17. It looks like still struggling in the tail end of the field. Curtis Sabarin and Jackson Van Pelt keeping with one another. No driver has gone down to pit road so far, so we'll see. Maybe Jackson might be one of those first drivers to decide to go for a little bit of a undercut move. Could go down to pit road between lap number 25 and 30 and get fresh tires before anyone else in the field decides to do so. Now, field numbers are going to be something else to keep in mind. For the first 30 laps, it won't mean all too much, but if you decide to go for an undercut, even a lap or two could make a major difference, and that's something that has to be evaluated here if you're going to try to go for a risky call. I don't believe that Matthew Weeks nor Jordan Kuntz will go for a crazy undercut. It's very likely, as we've seen, of course, season after season, leaders coming in within 2 or 3 laps of one another at the absolute most. And most often, waiting for that safe number to be hit is the way to go to find a victory lane, especially with the distances we have on track. 15 drivers spread out by just about 15 seconds here, so it's about a driver a second. Pit road takes up maybe 45, 50 seconds at the very most, and that means that an entire lap could be lost here, so all things considered, an optimal pit stop would mean track position is basically net neutral, but you're just going to be 1 lap down, temporarily speaking. Then from there, you're able to get the new tires to get going. You'll be stuck down to the track, and you'll just keep on making time and making pace before your rivals go down a pit road before you. That's what makes the undercut so incentivized for some drivers who are in the back of the field. It makes it very enticing because you could be faster for a period of time in which absolutely nobody can catch you, and you'll be seconds faster, where when drivers come back out on pit road, and you'll of course have slightly older tire, they won't be several seconds faster. They might be at the very most a second a lap faster, or a few tenths of a second a lap faster. That's just the difference, of course. When it comes down to whether or not 25 laps in out of 60, drivers are going for the undercutting formula, or of course they're deciding to go long. Whether or not they're in the right position to go for either, of course, depends on how they've raced to this point. Top 5 could really go either way, although I do think, once again, going for that safe number and then progressing is the preferred way to go. We could see a different approach. That all depends, of course, on the likes of Jim Thurston, Ethan Burrell, David Tooker. Matthew Weeks and Jordan Kuntz could dictate the field all the same, and it looks like Burrell back inside the top 3. David Tooker now going to put some pressure now on that number 96 of Jim Thurston. All of a sudden, your pole sitter facing some struggles. And in your top 6 drivers, interestingly enough, David Tooker has the lowest I rating of them all at a 4,400. So this is a group of elite drivers here, because David Tooker, statistically speaking, is at the bottom end of it. But we've seen time and time again, he is one of the top drivers in this league and really can give a fight anywhere when it comes to these Xfinity cars. As you can see, Tooker made that pass relatively easy. Jim Thurston not going to hold him up in the slightest, and so it looks like Tooker taking another spot will get up there with Ethan Burrell. We might see the same podium as last week, and all of a sudden a different organization at the front of the field is coming alive just before the playoffs begins. And it looks familiar to how Matthew Weeks, of course, won the championship last year. He came alive during the playoffs and was able to collect 3 victories before getting the championship in Atlanta, and now all of a sudden, the penultimate race of the regular season, he wins his first. Now, poised to win his second. That's, of course, if he gets the job done tonight. Vinny Tigner taking the win in Talladega, and ever since that point, it looks like Jordan Kuntz, while not off his A-game, has not yet been able to find a victory lane again. Times can change, and we're only about halfway into this event. But currently, caution's out for the first time tonight. Back of the field going to cause it. It looks like it might be Ben Bushnell. If not, well, it looks like nobody else. Benjamin Bushnell going to be the cause of the yellow flag. And we're going to see whether or not that is officially the case as we take our instant replay. And here's a look back. Yes, Ben Bushnell, motor blue. And it looks like that's a hazard on track. So Benjamin Bushnell, the car exploded, and iRacing looks like automatically waving the yellow flag as a result. He towed and did the responsible thing. However, unfortunately, that will be an iRacing issued caution. And so, strategy, if you didn't think it was going to be simple enough, well, now everyone is due to come down to pit road this time by. You might see some drivers go for double stops here, as now there's the field. And as we catch up to our live feed, they're getting organized once again to head down to pit road in an orderly fashion. It's about time for pit road to become busy anyhow, so why not do it together? We'll all be about level when we go back to green once again. We're coming to the pit road at lap number 29 here, which will leave us with 32 laps to go. Restart going to begin at about lap number 31, so only 30 laps will remain. So we have ourselves a situation where strategy is almost not impacted. Matthew Weeks will round turns 3 and 4. With them will be Jordan Kuntz in second, Ethan Burrell in third, and then you got fourth and David Tooker with your pole sitter Jim Thurston concluding the top 5. Heading into pit road together, Matthew Weeks, Jordan Kuntz, and company make it down and in. But 4 tires and fuel are expected as the recipe for most. However, we're anticipating maybe 1 or 2 drivers to try to go for the late pit stop strategy in which they go twice around. We'll see if that's worth it or if some drivers in the back of the field risk it as everyone comes in together. Ben Bushnell, the only retiree, 1 lap down. Rest of the field is still going, all 14 of which. Jim Thurston going to miss his stall ever so slightly. That's going to cost him maybe a position or 2 here. So let's see with Thurston who makes it out first. Ethan Burrell coming in quick, and it looks like he will be beaten. Jordan Kuntz gets it off the line. Then you'll have Burrell. Then it'll be Matthew Weeks. And then you'll have 4th just after the fact. Trey Holmes off pit road is P4. Mason Sweet, Jim Thurston, Gino Matto, Vinny Tigner, and Kenneth Garrell conclude the top 10. And it looks like Jim Thurston going to fall back a little bit further to net 7th overall. Henry Caloff decided to stay out 1 extra lap, and I think that's not only to get the lead lap bonus, but also because now he has an opportunity to get himself a little bit more time with new rubber. He'll go in this time buying. This is something we often see as maybe a surprising strategy call. I don't think tonight's surprising. It's a solid attempt here for Henry Caloff. I think it might actually be the way to go. 32 laps to go this time by as you're watching live on FTN, and we will return after some messages from our friends and associates live on FTN Broadcasting. First and foremost, a word from our friends at iRacing Motorsport Simulations. We're going to bring you back to, of course, full coverage before we go back to green, so we'll be right back. You're watching live on FTN, and we will return after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Coming back now for what will be 30 laps to go. Halfway pit stop is going to leave things just about as level-headed as they can get. Jordan Kuntz and Ethan Burrell are positions 1 and 2 as it will be a halfway sprint from here to the checkered flag. Green flag's out. Jordan Kuntz is going to lead the way, and the 99 with another substantial jump to bring us back to pace. Kuntz comes up and ahead, and it looks like now 30 laps to go. Signal is showing we are already under caution once more. Reason is going to be back at the field. Henry Kaloff, it looks like. Well, we find ourselves pacing once again, a rather quick stop to our restart. Let's take a look back and see what caused it here. It looks like a minor mishap, if anything. You take a look to the tail end of the field. Yes, it was a minor mishap, and it looks like Gino Marrow involved in it. He just got away. Then see Jim Thurston. Thurston with significant damage. His motor is blowing, and we're trying to get a better replay on the matter as the number 96 is destroyed. Implications for this race, but again, he is not a championship contender. Still going to bow out early. Take a look at this. Thurston starting up at the front of the field. Contact with Mason Sweet. Sweet is going to hook him twice, and in this case, yes, Mason Sweet, the instigator of the incident, and we'll get you one more time a slightly better angle here as it looks like Mason going to make contact there on the rookie again. Well, it looks like he hasn't gotten himself away from the pack. Number 96 of Jim Thurston. Take a look. Contact from Sweet up the track is going to send him. That's going to collect Trey Holmes. Gino Marrow just gets away. 1, 2, 3. There's the 71. He nearly becomes the 4th. Plowing into the wall. Jim Thurston caught up bad. Caution is out once again. And you can see Mason Sweet, although it looks like he was part of the very beginning of it, actually got away the best. Surprising given the fact he did give that initial contact, which of course kicked things off. Jim Thurston with a rather aggressive start there, all things considered, but it looks like 3 wide on a restart doesn't work for anyone. Taking a look back to your live feed, you got up in front, Jordan Kuntz even still, 28 laps to go. So under caution yet again, very little changes with strategy, although it looks like Jim Thurston gets back on the way, so he's going to take that fast repair and get back into the mix here. So he will get that one, of course, second chance. And it's a good thing that we have it now in this race, as it looks like he's going to be using it, which, of course, for Thurston standards, he does not wreck all too often, but this time around, he's at the mercy of the field, and he gets back down to pit road once again for a little bit of additional service, knowing he's at the back end. Henry Kaloff is down low, as is Trey Holmes. Currently, Trey Holmes is going to be 2 laps down, as a matter of fact, so not good looking so far for the number 88. Maybe he's got a chance to get back out there, although his chances to stay on the lead lap is very much slim to none. Two laps to green this time by, live on FTN, and we mentioned just before in that previous yellow flag, he was able to, of course, get the race lead, Jordan Kuntz, through pit road. We're here on iRacing Motorsport Simulations, the leading online platform since 2008 for virtual motorsports. So if you would like to, of course, start your sim racing career, there's no better place to go besides iRacing.com. iRacing Motorsport Simulation not only has stock car racing, but you also have dirt, you have road action, you have open wheel racing, sports cars, and just about anything you can think of from the days of 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, all the way up to the modern day and beyond. iRacing is going to have us covered for many a year to come, and now, of course, the home of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series has provided fans with the top ladder in professional sim racing, a prize pool of more than $500,000 each year, and you can get your start, and within a few years' time, you might be one of the best on the virtual sim racing scene. It all comes down to whether or not you start that journey. So visit iRacing.com for additional information, and we'd love to have you on the track as well. You're watching live on FTN Broadcasting, and if you're enjoying what you're seeing, make sure to leave a like on the stream and hit subscribe as we're chasing 3,000 subscribers, our next major accolade. 27 laps to go. Going to come down to 26, and it looks like, well, very similar starting grid up and in front. A brief caution, of course, caused in part by that incident, and of course, cautions breeding cautions. Unfortunately, that first yellow flag, I'm surprised that was considered a yellow, because Ben Bushnell not only got out the way, but did the right thing to tow rather quickly and left nobody in harm's way. So, that being said, it's going to be tricky to see what's up next to come. Hopefully we get back in the rhythm of the green flag racing, just a restart error making all the difference. Kuntz looking for what could be win number 4. Matthew Weeks is right behind and definitely had himself up there, battling until the tail end, and actually got the lead of the first stint, and then the caution was called. Maybe he's got that long run speed even still. Track conditions have not changed, so if he was successful then, very unlikely that we're going to see anything change, and Jordan Kuntz will have to realize adapting is not easy. We're going to fly through in a pit road this time by. Only one driver goes, though. That is the iRacing official pace car. Green flag is going to fly once again. Let's go with Jordan Kuntz back up at the front of the field. 26 laps to go from here. Up and ahead, Jordan Kuntz going to be single file, but you'll see the Hornet's Nest at long last is going 2 by 2 in mass. Up at the head of the pack, you're going to have, of course, David Zucker no longer. He's now trying to make it back up there. Vinny Tigner is going to be P7. P6 is going to be Kenneth Gurrell. A little bit of a shuffle. This is the highest spot that we have seen TJ Laren all throughout the night. And for TJ's sake, well, he's hanging on pretty good so far to keep it up inside of the top 5. TJ Laren looking strong and solid so far. Let's see what else he can do. Vinny Tigner coming up on David Zucker, and then you got Kenneth Gurrell alike. Now the question becomes, what can TJ Laird do up in front, and if he can stay there, well, maybe he can come away with his career best finish. Not a lot of times we see these underdog drivers immediately succeed, but for TJ, he's been gifted the perfect opportunity. He is sticking right behind the rookie and Mason Sweet here, so a lot of new drivers now all of a sudden amongst each other at the top of the scoring pylon. We'll see, of course, what Jordan Kuntz does with the drivers behind him. Doesn't matter to him whether or not they're old or new. In this field, everyone's competition for the 99, but oftentimes the 99 comes out on top. Up next, though, could be Ethan Burrell's first career win if he gets around Jordan Kuntz, which it doesn't look like he's got the pace to just yet, but showing signs of having some solid speed for the laps to come. 25 laps to go, coming down to 24. Henry Kaloff is going to be nearly a lap down after a drive-through penalty in regards to being, of course, through pit road and going through while it was closed. So he entered the closed pit road, and as a result, he's going to be given a black flag, and he finds himself all the way to the tail end of the field, about 42 seconds behind, and you can see now drivers are entering turn 2, and nearly a lap back, Henry Kaloff is entering turn 3. So that's how significant the difference is right now for Kaloff. Really not a good place to be in, and he's going to need another yellow flag if he wants any chance to get back into the mix now. Henry Kaloff going to fall in the championship order no matter what, to, at the very best case scenario, down to third. That's with 23 laps to go. The man he's tied with for second is the driver that leads the way. 23 laps remaining this time by Jordan Kuntz up and ahead. Ethan Burrell P2, Matthew Weeks in third, and Mason Sweet is fourth. TJ Lair concludes the top 5. Next time around, as always, we crank it up with TrackCams22.com. We'd like to thank TrackCams for Gormets for their continued support live on FTN for now more than 3 seasons of SNT competition. Make sure to visit TrackCams22.com or Facebook.com/TrackCams for additional information. You're watching now as these drivers make it through the tunnel, turning on to turn 3. And for the next few laps, we're going to give you the best sights and sounds in stock car racing, unfiltered, unrestricted noise. And of course, you'll see how quick these stock cars are going to the 2.5-mile circuit in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. It's about time that we celebrate the Tricky Triangle for all it is. High speed action in the Northeast. Time to crank it up now with 22 laps to go, courtesy of our friends at TrackCams22.com. Jumping ahead, Jordan Kuntz still has himself 3/10 advantageous over Ethan Burrell. Very little has changed in that regard, and it looks like the top three pretty similar. Matthew Weeks in third, then you got Mason Sweet and TJ Lair still going at each other. For what it's worth, TJ Lair has been able to hang on very well inside of the top five. And the most interesting thing about it is that right now he is facing significant pressure and has not given in. 96 of Jim Thurston going to be right up top. You've also got, of course, right there, David Tooker. Now we see this bundle coming together. The question more so becomes, what is next? Jim Thurston still trying to make up some spots to recover a top five finish at the very least. It does not look like he's going to have much a chance to get up there for the podium or the win once again, but he now has a chance to get up on top of the 85, and he will. TJ Lair goes up to the top of the circuit. Going to lose a lot of time there. One spot. Might now lose up to 3 spots in just a lap. He's got David Tooker up next, trying to make it 2 at the very least. Tooker going to hang down low, and as you can see, the number 19 machine going to make it look pretty easy there. Just one mistake for TJ Lair. At long last, it's going to be a great run, of course, but it comes to a quick end, at least inside the top 5. Maybe from here, there's a lot more time for TJ Lair to get back up as the night progresses. Doesn't mean the job is done just because he's going to fade out for at least the first few laps of this third, shall we say, 2020. We just got by the second portion, and now we're into the tail end. The final quarter has also just begun. 16 laps to go, lap 45 out of 60. Now, the situation for TJ Lair, different, but he still has a chance to get back up there. He's running up at the front of the field the first time he was placed in that position, and now he's got himself maybe a chance to take this experience and move on to the next level of events. Of course, first and foremost, the question becomes whether or not this is experience that can be adapted to other events. And Pocono Raceway, of course, being so unique, one of the only things that might be universal is that tire saving, which becomes all the more important when you realize, I think that's why TJ is starting to fall off. Drivers who have just gotten ahead of him are much more experienced. They have that know-how of working with tire, and that's why Jim Thurston is at the head of this little pack here. He gets up in a 4th, and then, of course, you got Mason Sweet right behind. Mason not doing a bad job, although he was involved in that incident with Thurston before. It looks like now he's going to try to pass him fully clean. And to the inside, well, it looks like now the 96 machine going to try to work it from the outside of Trenton. Can't quite get anything done, and it's going to be a stalemate now coming out of turn 1. Turn 2 might be the defining factor for both Thurston and, at least for the time being, Mason Sweet. David Tooker going to back off, and Mason Sweet will not. That's going to give Tooker a chance to continue watching and waiting in the wings. Meanwhile, bound for the race lead is side by side. Ethan Burrell now looking for the top spot. Matthew Weeks right there with, and you know for certain that Matthew is loving everything he's seeing, not only because he's racing tonight with that number 37 of Burrell, but also because this could be a chance for him to take the race lead all the same. Here comes Ethan Burrell down low. He finished for the first time in his career in the podium just last week. Now a first career victory might be on the horizon. That's, of course, if he gets away and ahead of this number 99. Here comes the number 37, even still. Jordan Kuntz gets a nice run of momentum out of Trenton, and it's going to be the tunnel turn that's up next. Let's see what Ethan Burrell does through here. Does he decide to lunge or will he wade back once again? Maybe he's got a chance to wade back on the back bumper of that number 99 and then go for another run at about a lap or two's time. Still 14 laps to go, and then of course you're going to see 13, 12, so on and so forth. Realistically, if Ethan Burrell can keep up the pace, he might have what it takes for some 10 laps at the minimum to stay right behind and then get going. So it's going to be a simmer down battle up at the front of the field. Then you got David Tooker looking further back here, and he's still going to be with Mason Sweet. Jim Thurston got away, but Mason Sweet, not as much. He's still going to be just ahead of David Tooker, mind you, but it does not look like he's going to be running away by any means here. Still a solid position right now for the rookie, and it looks like he will be the rookie of the race. TJ Lair, Mason Sweet, both up inside the top 5, although it looks like now Mason Sweet, TJ Lair, they're going to be in 5th and 9th 9th respectively. Unfortunately, we're not seeing as much of TJ, who's fallen back further and had to let Gino Marrow go by. Tentatively speaking, I don't believe we're going to see any changes in the championship pylon. Dana Van Meter and Ben Bushnell both alike. Well, it looks like they are not going to have any significant runs. Ben Bushnell going to finish last. Dana Van Meter did not start, and so it looks like the top 10 will remain identical to what it was when we came in, which means your playoff picture will look just about the same. The only difference will be where drivers are seated, and that's always something that fluctuates. Just because you come in as the top seed doesn't mean you're automatically gifted the championship, and just because you come in on the bottom doesn't mean you cannot win the title. It's interesting because Alec Daffin might come in as the 10th and last seed tonight, but he has experience winning a championship as the 10th and last seed, the Integrity Ignite Series in the fall of 2023. We've talked about it many a time, though, and we know that Alec Daffin just turned it on in those final 5 races and ended up away from victory only 3 times in the last 5 races. He came away with a podium in all 5 of which 2 first-place finishes, 2 second-place finishes, and a third-place finish. I mean, that would lock up a championship in almost any series you could think of. Now with 11 laps to go, of course, Jordan Kuntz wants to return to those winning ways, and dominance is something that he's, of course, become accustomed to. Maybe he's faced a little bit more pressure in the last few races, last few seasons, yes, but we didn't really expect to see even Matthew Weeks do what he did last season and take Jordan Kuntz and break his championship winning streak, and he did that outright by dominating the final leg of the campaign and, of course, beating him in strategy in Atlanta. So it really comes down to whether or not Jordan Kuntz can have this as a rebound season here. Matthew Weeks is going to be just behind, and he finds himself in P3. He's been the grand spectator of this event here. He's been watching as Ethan Burrell puts down pressure, watching as Jordan Kuntz defends, and you have to be certain here that Matthew Weeks would love for a chance to, of course, get in the fight, get in the picture, but he'll let Burrell, of course, do the dirty work first. Ten laps left here. Lap number 51 out of number 60. That's the total number, of course, on the day. Lest we go into green-white checkered racing, in which we have one and only attempt. Mason Sweet is now going to be further behind. David Tooker got up to P5, and it's going to be Sweet back into 6th. Closest battle on the racing circuit looks to still currently be that for the race lead. Taking a look gap to gap between all drivers, well, you got only a few within about a half second, and nobody within 0.3 of a second, save for your top 2. Ethan Burrell and Jordan Kuntz have been keeping things interesting, and it looks like Burrell, well, as we mentioned, he still has the pace to hang on even if he's not directly trailing. Dirty air is something that is a big worry for drivers, though, when they're in this position. You don't want to wear out your stuff even without passing, because if your tires get a shot up trying to get back up the back bumper directly, well, it's going to be incredibly hard for you to make a pass. And this is why strategy becomes so complicated, because we don't go to Pocono all too much. It's really a once-a-year affair. If you don't have yourself prepared coming in with practice in a real racing environment, well, the issue becomes you don't know how to pass. You might be quick, yes, but it really comes down to whether or not you understand when to make a move and how to make a move. The problem, of course, it's not, of course, easy to estimate or predict. And that, of course, comes as a given. And we say, of course, so many times because we mention it so many times. And maybe some drivers take it for granted that we have such a reliable amount of drivers and such a reliable sort of driver. Each and every time around, race after race, lap after lap, you've got a good majority of the field that's very similar to what we saw last week, and then on, and then forth. So for seasons, guys like Jordan Kuntz, Alec Daffin, Matthew Weeks, Vinny Tigner, Carter Casey, and the like, they have been coming around and coming forth, but it doesn't mean that sometimes things are a little bit different. Drivers change season over season, and now, of course, the bigger picture, it really is whether or not Ethan Burrell, the rookie, can start to understand quickly what's going on. It looks like for now, Burrell, well, 17/100ths of a second away, certainly has the pace. Now the racecraft is all that's necessary from here. 8 laps to go, coming to 7 this time by. Matthew Weeks getting a little bit closer, and Jordan Kuntz seeing the back end tighten up on him. The 99 facing a load of pressure. He's had to handle it many a time before, and I'm thinking now he's just going to have to tap into those seasons of experience if he would like to do it once again. Burrell into turn 1, following through, and you might have just heard it there. Jordan Kuntz, he is shifting gears, and we were wondering whether or not anyone of the field up in front would do that, but yes, Jordan Kuntz goes down to 3rd gear through turn 1, and that's a little bit more that extra technique that some drivers don't decide to work with. Jordan Kuntz is going the extra distance right now to preserve that race lead, and you might have just heard it. Well, you're going to, of course, see how he's going at it. Shifting gears is now part of the game plan here, maximizing revs, trying to put a little bit more torque down lap after lap. Kuntz will go absolutely all out. We've seen before Jordan Kuntz can win with lesser material, but now that we're dead even, nobody's on the lesser. So maybe someone else knows the racetrack better. Defense is going to be the biggest deal now for the 99, and as he comes across the stripe again, 6 laps to go. Just got to keep on defending if he wants any chance for the win. This would move him up to 2nd in the championship standings, with Vinny Tigner up in his 7th. Well, it might actually be a chance to move up for the regular season title. Vinny Tigner putting up a great season so far, but consistency has been his key. He hasn't really put all too many of those top 5s in. Well, yes, he has, but he hasn't been all too stunning, shall we say, in a majority of which. Talladega, of course, getting a win is huge. However, otherwise on the campaign, he has been a top 5 driver at the best. Hasn't shown that opportunity or the speed to level up and go for the next step, which of course is a podium or a victory on a regular basis. And it's interesting to see how quick Ethan Burrell has become in his past few races. He's raced 2 times this campaign as well. Last time around, of course, getting that 3rd place finish. He's a driver who we might have to look out for in future weeks and future seasons. He's doing a great job tonight, and with 5 laps to go, I think he's out to, of course, finish what he started when we went racing in Richmond. He looked so close to even getting up to 2nd there on David Tooker. Could not quite, and now, well, he finds himself ahead of Tooker, ahead of Matthew Weeks, and only one driver stands in his way. I think now it's going to be all out for Ethan Burrell if he's got anything left in him. Meanwhile, David Tooker and Jim Thurston are going at each other. David Tooker getting a little bit closer now to Jim Thurston. Gap between the two of which is going to be just about 0.2 of a second here. Thurston going to be up in the wall, going to get a little bit slowed down, but David Tooker can't take advantage. Not a good exit for either driver here, and so the 96 will remain up and just ahead. Top 5 drivers are going to be lined up. David Tooker 3 seconds back on your top number 99, Jordan Kuntz. Top 5 going to be 3 seconds. Top 3 is going to be just about 1.5 tenths. Here goes Matthew Weeks right there on Ethan Burrell. That's going to prompt Burrell to go to the low groove, and that's going to put Jordan Kuntz with no choice but to defend on the bottom. Now Matthew Weeks goes up high. Starting to see a little bit of battling between teammates here, and it looks like Burrell just has to keep on waiting for his chance. Not there just yet. Jordan Kuntz remains with 3 laps to go this upcoming time. Your race leader, but that's not to say there's been no effort on the behalf of Burrell, Weeks, or all those behind. Now it's interesting enough to see that Jordan Kuntz has to deal with teammates. Shaw Racing, he's no longer a part of it. He's running independent all throughout the season, and it looks like so far for Premier, the number 99 team, well, they've turned over a new leaf after a devastating championship loss, and they're back up in front once again. Pocono Raceway, last time we were here, P2 finish. He's one of the, statistically speaking, best drivers to have ever come to this circuit in this league, but that's a given of course that history in S&T as a whole. Something that's less expected though is to see Jordan Kuntz now being hounded by a rookie who's only making his 3rd career start for the race win, on pace with 3 laps to go, and it's less expected because right now it's not happening. Ethan Burrell is going to back off, and it looks like it's all about Matthew Weeks now to fight against the 99. Matthew was waiting, and it looked like he was caged up for a good majority of the fight. Burrell gets up on the wall, and it looks like they're going to let that number 11 loose. It's time to see what Matthew Weeks has in store. Out 5 miles left this time around, it'll be Weeks and Jordan Kuntz going for the race victory. Toe-to-toe. 2 laps to go this time by Popsicle Sticks in Pennsylvania. Jordan Kuntz is going to hold that steady advantage in the Trenton, and with him is going to be Matthew Weeks. First and second are still going to be as close as they can come here. As it stands, Matthew Weeks still doesn't look like he's necessarily looking to make the pass. He still has a little bit of time here to understand what the best decision is, evaluate his choices, and for now, it looks like that number 11 of Weeks, well, he's taking his sweet time, which he's going to have to do for this lap, but there's no time on the final lap. 1 lap to go. This is it. No holds barred. Coming to the white flag, Jordan Kuntz will be your race leader. Matthew Weeks is still within a quarter of a second. When we come across that stripe, the race is official, and there's no turning back from here. Green flag is still going to be out, and it'll be the white flag as well. 1 lap to go. Ethan Burrell fading out of the picture. Jordan Kuntz will continue defending your championship contenders, the top 2. In everyone's minds, they're going at it for the checkered flag once again. Matthew Weeks still going to be right there, working through turns 1 and 2. Tunnel turn going to be a huge opportunity now for the number 11. He stays right in tow now. Jordan Kuntz's back bumper, not going to decide to lunge. Kuntz goes a little bit higher, and it looks like an unforced error perhaps. Matthew Weeks is there, looking low. Jordan Kuntz is loose. He'll go down to the inside. His only chance to defend is here in the tunnel turn. Looking low through Milwaukee, Kuntz is going to occupy the bottom side. Weeks with significant momentum, and it's a slide job up the circuit. Matthew Weeks down low, Jordan Kuntz right up high, side by side with contact. Jordan Kuntz hangs on. Checkered flag for the number 99. His win is his 4th of the season, and he locks up another checkered flag with his closest finish of the campaign. Kuntz wins and leads 35 laps on the event. What a way to win. I mean, no contact between those two, save for a minor rub, and Kuntz was the man who lost speed because of it. He'll still defend, he'll still win, and it was a clean finish, all things considered. That's why those two are championship contenders, because any week on the circuit, it could go either way. Great job from Jordan Kuntz and Matthew Weeks, showing us again how it's done on track. A distant 3rd place eventually becomes Ethan Burrell there in P3. Jim Thurston is 4th, and then David Tooker in 5th, with 6th place being Vinny Tigner and Mason Sweet then in 7th. Gino Mara was 8th with TJ Lair 9th, and Kenneth Gorell in P10. 11th place on the order going to be Curtis Sabarin. 12th Jackson Van Pelt. 13th Henry Kaloff. Trey Holmes in P14. Ben Bushnell 15th. Dana Van Meter 16th, with a Matthew White and Aaron Sire as drivers who chose not to start in tonight's event. Jordan Kuntz getting back into victory lane for his 4th of the season and perhaps his most exciting win in his SNT career. Waiting to see if anything comes of it for Jordan Kuntz's celebration. I think he's going to burn this one down and tear down the house with it. And for Ethan Burrell's 2nd consecutive 3rd place finish, we're going to get a word from all of your top 3 drivers momentarily here. You're watching live on FTN, and coverage from the Pocono Raceway has only just begun for your post-race show. Jordan Kuntz going to be at the start-finish line. Let's get a word from your race winner here and figure out what's going on in the mind of the man who does it again. Jordan Kuntz, 4th win in 2024B. Let's get a word from the 99 here. standing by, waiting to make sure that Jordan Kuntz can speak with us. He's in the waiting room right now, so it's about time we hear from the man who gets it done again. Jordan Kuntz, win number 4, and you had to work for this one. 24 thousandths of a second, the difference between victory and defeat. Close battle between you and Matthew Weeks, and I think if anything, it shows again why you two are the top of this league. What a finish! How about this race?
Yeah, definitely a race of 2 parts. The first part was struggling, didn't really know what I was doing wrong in the long run. Figured out for the second run, and it was proved to be just enough to hold off Matthew Weeks there. It was really fun battle on the last lap. Made a bit of contact exiting too, and then I did a bit of a slide job to get in front of him and to not try to let him turn under me, so I could get the run off the corner and he would lose momentum. And it was just enough, and yeah, really fun.
And I mean, this first half of the race, of course, it was a tale of 2 races, as you mentioned, almost split directly down the middle. First half, you found yourself a little bit mired back, actually, losing the race lead as the night progressed. You saw Thurston there fighting with you, Weeks, Burrell, Tucker, and of course yourself. So what of that first half did you sort of learn to take into the next to help you out in propelling into the battle for the win?
Well, I think it's just a bit of a different. It was a driving style change in the first to second half. Everyone in the later part of the run in the first one was shifting, and I'm usually one to not like shifting in Xfinity cars and at Pocono, so I was avoiding shifting for the first run, and I figured it out that it was shifting hurting the long run, so I had to adjust the driving style for the second run to try to figure out when to start shifting, when to shift entering the corner, when to shift back up exiting, and if it would affect exit speed or whatever, and it definitely worked. But it was definitely a very fun race between everyone who ran up front. James for the first few laps of the race, Matthew for the last few.
And a great battle it was, clean and green there to the checkered flag. Now, it looks like in the regular season standings, you're going to come away overall in second, but certainly you're going to be one of those drivers everyone's looking at again to fight for the championship. Playoffs are going to be coming in 2 weeks' time here. We have our all-star race first and foremost. How are you feeling about your chances for maybe your 3rd career title?
Well, I think the season is going a lot like last. We definitely want to change that part in the playoffs to have a way better, more consistent run. I feel like I was really fast then. I just need to step it up a bit more. And as for the championship, all I can say is if it's meant for me, I will have it. If not, I'm ready to receive something even better.
With that being said, Jordan Kuntz, what a result it was tonight. 35 laps led on the day and a victory here from Pocono. Any last shout-outs or comments you'd like to give?
I'd like to shout out everyone at Premier Concrete Solutions for putting them on the car, of course, to get this win, to end the regular season with a win, and all the wins we've gotten through the regular season is amazing. And I'd also like to shout out everyone who was racing in this race. It was really fun to at least have a long green flag run with where tire saving somewhat mattered, and definitely saw the best drivers at the end.
And with that being said, Victory Lane, well, it's a familiar place for you and a great way to end the regular season. Checkered flag tonight. Jordan Kuntz, you get it done again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Talk about a battle. We're looking at it one more time here between Matthew Weeks and, of course, Jordan Kuntz alike. I think we're going to play multiple times here before the broadcast ends. And how about we bring in your second place finisher, Matthew Weeks? Oh, so close. And I would have to say one of the most thrilling battles we've seen from both you and Jordan in both your SNT careers here. So walk us through this race. Another very solid result as you come away in the second spot tonight.
It was a good race. I was just playing the long run. Thanks, saving tires. I felt like I was the better car on the long run, and then I felt really good once I took the lead early in the race, and I was gapping the field. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stretch this as far as I can go, and then we'll just play that. I felt like I was in a winning right there. Then we had those quick cautions, and then after that, it was just I just stayed. I slid my box. I lost the lead under that when we pitted. So I just decided to chill behind Ethan and Coons for a while, let them burn their stuff up, and then went after him. Almost had it.
And oh, so close there, especially in that tail end, you and Ethan Burrell working at the front of the field, and it looked like you were caged up for maybe 10 or 15 laps, and you came alive in those last 3 just to give it one final chance.
Yeah, I knew we were going to go green again. So in my mind, I was just like, okay, I'm going to chill and I'm going to wait till 10 to go before I start really driving. So that's what I did. I just waited until 10 to go, and then I started driving really hard. And then I think about 6 to go, I think I was right on him. Like, okay, now I got a shot. And then I seen Ethan was trying. He raced me once, and then I think one lap he defended, and then he realized, okay, he's a little better than I am, so he let me go. So I appreciate him doing that. And it was just catching Jordan, and I don't know what happened in the tunnel turn on the last lap. It felt like he overdrove it and messed up, and then it looked like he got a little loose, and then I just went to push him, and with his updated Xfinity card, that little tab just sent him to the left, and I even lifted so that way we can stay side by side. That way we could at least race in the corner. I didn't want to just blow by him after hitting him like that. And then I was aggravated how he just it felt like he just slammed the brake when he slid up in front of me in the middle of 3, and I didn't like that because I was going to cross him, but him slamming the brake stopped that or lifted. I don't know what he did. He just instantly slowed down. So I was kind of aggravated about that, but it's all good. Still a good run.
And still some big points to coming now to the playoff picture. Championship maybe on the mind to go for some defense. You come alive the last 2 races of the regular season. Average finish of 1.5 in both, so perhaps in good momentum to bring into the final most important events.
Oh yeah, man. Once the playoff starts, it's time to turn up the wick, and I like to get the momentum going before we get there. That way, they know that I'm here to, I'm here for it. So hope they're ready, because I'm gonna bring the heat.
And of course, we're looking to see what's up next. Matthew Weeks, the championship fight. Well, maybe we saw a little bit of a preview of it. You and Jordan Kuntz toe-to-toe here. If you got any final shout-outs you'd like to give, well, floor is yours.
Shout out my buddy Ethan Burrell, coming here, finishing 3rd. I think he's only ran probably 2 or 3 races in here, and he's quick everywhere. And that's buddy, and pro edge guy through and through. Tucker was here too. He ran, but he got killed. Shout out to Trey. I think he got wrecked too. So it's good for those guys to show up and race. JV Designs, my buddy Justin Vandermeer, hit him up on Twitter. Paints you an amazing scheme. He brings the heat with him all the time. You in the booth every single week, man. You do a hell of a job. I go back every single night, watch it, and it's always good. And then everyone that watched, hope you enjoyed it. That was a good white flag lap for both Pocono. Usually don't get that kind of battles there, and so it was cool to have a little hard battle like that. And shout out to Vinny and Carter for running the league. Like I say, it's a great league, and love racing these guys. And yeah.
There we go. Matthew Weeks, 9 laps led here in Pennsylvania. 2nd place finish just before we go on to the championship hunt. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, man. You have a good night.
Matthew Weeks on the way. Familiar place now for Ethan Burrell, but looking stronger and stronger, getting his first lead lap and a podium that, in all honesty, understates how good you were running tonight, Ethan. 2nd career podium, but this one, I think, more convincing than the last. Definitely.
Yeah, it felt good. The car was really tight, and just trying to find ways to navigate through the field and try to get to the clean air. But Jordan ran a heck of a race, so I'm pretty happy with the result there.
No, of course, doubt that it was a very solid result for you, and you had yourself some good pace in that final stint. First stint as well, you, Matthew Weeks, David Tucker, all surrounding one another. Have to ask, maybe some preparation coming to tonight's race, or just a race session practice?
No, actually, I signed up kind of last minute. I did run a couple laps in the warm-up, so I got an idea of how it was going to handle, but I just kind of started at the back because I missed qual, and just kind of figured it out as the race went on. And I mean, I have a lot of track time at this track, so I kind of had a general idea of what it was going to be like going in, but just kind of fine tuning everything.
And very close call there. You, Kuntz, Matthew Weeks at the very end for the last battle for the race victory. Saw you get in the wall just a bit, then fall out of the end. Were tires anything at play for you there in the tail end, or something else coming to pass?
Yeah, for sure. This number 37 Pro Edge Supra was fast as 10G internet from Xfinity. So, but yeah, just burned the right front off there at the end, trying to make a move on Jordan. But all in all, it was a good night.
And everything working out well again for a podium. Now, while you're not championship eligible here, maybe a chance to keep after those podiums and look for a first career victory you've gotten rather close to already. Now we'll have Irwindale for our all-star race. When we come back for full-on racing, it'll be Darlington to kick off the round of 10. Perhaps you'll come back for that?
Yeah, I'll try to come back and try to play spoiler for these guys, racing for the championship as long as the Lord above lets me keep coming out here and doing this.
There we go, Ethan Burrell. Any final shout-outs you'd like to give or any last messages?
Shout out Matthew Weeks, David Tooker, Trey Holmes. We all kind of run together, so shout those guys out for being good teammates. And shout out to you, man, for putting on these great shows for us.
Third place for the second consecutive week and a great way to end the regular season. Ethan Burrell, third place once again in Pocono. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thanks, man.
Great to see the rookies coming alive. Ethan Burrell has been rather convincing as of late, and maybe we'll see a little bit more of him next season, making a great start, of course, coming through in his SNT career. First and foremost, well, we've got third place Ethan Burrell. Then you got P2 going to Matthew Weeks in a photo finish of epic proportions. You've got Jordan Kuntz, race winner again, 35 laps led, and a 24,000th of a second margin of victory to get the job done. Wonderful racing from each and every driver here live on FTN. Pocono Raceway never fails as a 2.5-mile circuit. We're always expecting high speeds and high stakes. Now, the stakes are going to rise because in 2 weeks' time, we go racing from the Darlington Raceway for 150 laps of action. We hope to see you there live on FTN for continued coverage of Saturday Night Thunder, in which the championship battle will consist of the 10 top drivers in the series. From the virtual Pocono Raceway, you've been watching Saturday Night Thunder's regular season finale, and we hope you tune in next week for our all-star race of the virtual Irwindale Raceway next Saturday, same time, same place, as always, on FTN. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing, so if you enjoyed, leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to join SNT and become a driver, scan the QR code on your screen or visit the links in our description, and you can enter any one of our broadcasted leagues from Monday to Sunday and everywhere in between. Thank you for tuning in tonight from the virtual Long Pond, Pennsylvania. We hope you have a fantastic night.